Right. My name's Sandeep. Welcome to the first of hopefully many WebExes to come. The first WebEx here is just aimed at searching in Invu. The key for us is to kind of educate users and inform users on sort of how you guys can sort of search more efficiently and more effectively.
Has joined the conference.
Because a lot of the common queries that we get relate to sort of, when people search, they either get the results they need along with results they don't really expect to see, and commonly that just comes down to how the search has been carried out and how it's been formed. So this WebEx is just aimed at covering that off, how to search more effectively, I guess, in Invu. So that's just a brief outline of the WebEx. As I've sort of mentioned via the little chat box, if you've seen it, I've muted the audio from all attendees purely just to prevent any audio feedback or any quirks with the audio as a result. Any questions that you do have or you may have during the course of the session, feel free to ask them. You should see a little chat window on your end. So just ask the question via the chat window. I'll pick it up, and if I can answer it straight away, I'll answer it straight away. If not, I'll answer it when it's good during the session, or I'll answer it at the end. There will be a question section at the end of the session. So if you want to save your questions until then, that's fine as well. Another thing, this WebEx isn't sort of a support WebEx. If you have any support issues or queries, then either save them to the end and we can sort of point you in the right direction, or you can raise them with the support team. So in the WebEx, we're going to cover a number of topics. One of the first one being the different methods of searching. We're just going to compare the different types, because you've got a metadata search, a text search, which is split up into two, technically three categories. You've got a metadata text search, a text search, which is also a metadata search, a text content search, and you can also do a combined metadata and content text search. And the other method of searching is also a document reference search, which allows you to search within specific document references within the system, whether these are doc refs you've created yourself, or whether they're the sort of the inbuilt references within Invu. So things like email information to the from, the received, subject, things like that. Then I'll move on to sort of text searching in a little bit more detail. We'll cover off just sort of a brief overview of just text searching in general. We'll cover off some of the limitations with text searching specific to sort of content, and then I'll go into more detail on the metadata and content searches, and then we'll cover off wildcard searches, because we do support a varying number of wildcards, some that you may or may not be aware of. Following on from that, we'll move on to OCR. A lot of customers tend to use OCR as their sole method of searching. Generally, probably not the best thing to do, purely because it's OCR. It depends on the quality of the documents, but these are things that I'll touch on later in the WebEx. And again, do's and don'ts. Things to bear in mind when you're searching. Things that you should do, things that you shouldn't do. Things that will help improve your search experience, and things that may actually have a negative effect on your search experience. And then finally, at the end, questions and any examples that you may have yourself of some searches. We did have a few people who emailed in prior to the WebEx with some specific examples. So I'll try and cover those off at the end. But if you have any yourselves throughout the course of this session, then feel free to just pop them in the little chat box, and I'll address them at the end. I'm hoping that this, my part of the WebEx will probably last maybe 20 minutes or so. depending on the number of questions and the examples that we cover off at the end, you know, they may just take a little bit longer, but I'm hoping that my presentation lasts no more than about 20 minutes, including some examples that I put together. So, the different methods of searching that we've got in Invu. Text, which is broken up into sort of 3 subsections: metadata, content, and combined. The text search uses its underlying technology. We use a component called DT Search. It's a pretty powerful tool, you know, out of the box, which is why we use it in Invu. There are a number of restrictions that DT Search impose within the tool itself, such as, you know, noise characters or words. They don't get indexed, and as a result, you can't search on them. Typically, noise words are things like and, there, it, or, and things like that. And the underlying sort of search syntax isn't controlled by Series 6. It's controlled by DT Search, which is why it's such a powerful tool, because it's already got inbuilt functionality that we can expose and we can leverage to you know, give you a better search experience. The other search type or method is document reference search. This, as I sort of touched on earlier in my introductory slide, it allows you to search on specific document references or fields, indexes within Series 6. Very precise. You can search across everything, as in across all document types. So if you've got a document reference called, I don't know, title, but that document reference is associated to multiple standard documents, you can search for the, you know, for the within the document reference called title for the word, I don't know, contract, and that you could have documents relating to that contract associated or filed against multiple standard documents. So by doing a docref search across a single reference, you could return all documents that relate to that reference across all standard documents. The underlying syntax, unlike DT Search, is actually controlled by Series 6. So where you're doing a betweens or a contains or a begins with, that sort of syntax in the docref search is actually controlled by Series 6. So we're able to do a little bit more on that front. I will also be covering off the additional search options that we've got in Series 6, things like stemming, phonics, synonyms, and fuzzy. You've probably seen the options in Series 6, but you've probably not really known what they're about or what they mean or what they do, because there are a lot of common questions that we get at Invu on support is, you know, what does the stemming function do, what do synonyms do, and things like that. So I'll go into a bit more detail throughout the WebEx when I cover those off. Right, text searching in a little bit more detail. The text search primarily looks at an index. So an index is built for all documents and all words on those documents and within those documents. So when you carry out a text search, the primary process goes off to the index and says, right, this is what I'm searching for. Have you got it? And then the results from the index will just give you back, will give Series 6 back the document number, and then we just go to the database, get that document number, and just present it to you in the results screen. The overall total number of results, they're sort of throttled by DT Search, so that you know, the system just doesn't get flooded with loads of results. It's throttled and controlled so that the search mechanism is handled accordingly and appropriately. The results, once they're returned, they're filtered based on security, and that's security in Series 6. So the back-end search, when you do a search, it might do a search in, like, you know, less than a second, because it's gone to the index and it's gone to the database. But it's the security filtering that can sometimes take a little bit longer, especially if you're returning a large number of results. So once the results are filtered, they're throttled further, so that when they're presented back to the Invu client, you know, they don't just flood through and cause performance issues. And then once they're presented in the client, in the Invu client, additional filtering is applied. You know, so when you get your results, you'll see that they're all split into subsections. So at the standard document level, so you've got your information type and then your results within each standard document from that point, and that's what the further filtering applies to. The limitations of text searching. There are limitations. It's not perfect, but if you know what the limitations are, you can kind of tweak your searches to turn those limitations into benefits. One of them being that it's the general text search is very quick. It is very powerful, but only when it comes to producing a controlled small result set. So if you're searching for invoices, if you just search for the word invoice, chances are that's going to be in the header for probably 99.9% of all invoices in your system. However, if you're searching for an invoice number or something else within that invoice document or any document that you're searching for that's a little bit more specific, it's not as general or as broad as a common word like invoice or sales order or email correspondence or anything. Trying to reduce the number of results that are returned back to you is what makes the search quicker, and it also makes you trying to browse those results and filter through those results easier, because you don't have to go through, say, 3,000 search hits when you can only end up going through maybe 5 or 10 or less. Some of the features aren't very intuitive when you're doing just a regular text search, purely because noise words are removed. So if you search for invoice not paid, the not is a noise word. It's treated as a noise word, but it's also some syntax in Invu. So you could, whereby you can say that a document reference does not contain a specific value that you're trying to search for. So the search can sometimes get a little bit confused on that front. So continue with text search in a little bit more detail here. I'll do a sort of just a quick comparison between the metadata and content. The metadata by default indexes all numbers and it indexes all noise words, and the metadata itself is written to a temporary XML file on the server, and then it's added to the index. The content search, however, works slightly differently because it's configurable. When your system's set up, or you make a change in the system, it's optional with regards to indexing numbers and noise. The reason it's optional is because if you index numbers and noise on the content, it can vastly increase the size of the index, and by increasing the size of the index, searching can take a little bit longer because it's got more data to traverse and filter through. Again, punctuation is also treated as spaces. Things like exclamation marks, forward slashes, backslashes, ampersands, brackets, any sort of punctuation you can think of, they're all treated as spaces. Generally, indexing numbers and noise words for metadata isn't really an issue because the overall size of the index is a lot smaller, because the metadata really relates to the fields and document references within Invu. The content, however, because the index contains all words that are OCR'd on the document, and if we index noise and numbers, that just adds to the load, adds to the overall number of text and data that needs to be indexed. The content also, with images, PDFs, TIFFs, JPEGs, things like that, they need to be OCR'd, which in itself, depending on the size of the image, the quality of the image, it can either be fairly quick or it can be fairly slow. So that's just a breakdown of the difference. Right, wildcard searches. You may or may not already be aware of some of these wildcards that can be used in Invu when you're doing a text search. A question mark will basically just match any character. An equals will match any single digit. So if you're doing if you're looking for invoices or documents that have got a date that are like, let's just say 1999, you want to find everything that was indexed in the 90s. You can just type in 199 and then it equals. What that will do is it'll look for documents from every year that falls within that range. So it's 1991, 1990, 91, 92, so on and so forth, until that year changes. So it will go all the way up to 99. Asterisk, that matches any number of characters. You may have tried to do a search in Invu by just putting in the asterisk and hitting search. You've probably found that's probably crashed your Invu client, because what that does, it tries to bring, because it tries to match any number of characters, it basically tries to bring back everything. Something that, again, not advised. The fuzzy search, some of these, the next few that I'm going to just talk about, they're actually options in the search screen. So fuzzy, what does fuzzy mean? In Invu, it has 10 levels if you're looking at the options screen. So I just bring that up just so you can see what I'm talking about. Right. So down here we've got the fuzzy option. If I tick it, you'll see that the drop down has got 10 options. In the text search, you've got the option to not use that, but you can include it within your search itself. So you could just do that, for example. But what the fuzzy does, it performs an approximate string match. So if I did if I did the word banana, what that would do is that it basically says that the word must begin with BA, and at most it must have at least one difference between the start and the overall word called banana in this example. And by increasing the number of fuzzy levels that you've got, you're basically allowing it to have more differences in the search between the word that you're searching for and the result set that you're trying to find. So what you may find is that when you do a content search for, I'm just trying to think of an example. Let me see if I've got anything. No. Yeah, so if you've done a content search, and imagine that on the right hand side you can see there that I could have spelled the word test wrong when my document was typed up. So I could just quite easily put the % in and still get my results, because it allows you to have at least one mismatch of characters. The next one that was on the phonic search. This one's a bit weird, but people use it, and people do find an overall use for it. It basically allows you to look for words that sound like the word you're searching for, and it begins with the same letter. So, a common example is sort of the word Smith. If I search for Smith, it would also return Smith spelt with a Y, so S-M-Y-T-H-E, as well as S-M-I-T-H-E. So it's just about the sound. It tries to relate the sound of the word that you're searching for to return additional results. stemming. This covers sort of grammatical variations on a word. So if I searched for, the word stem, for example, that would return stemming, stemmed, stemmer. So it's just a little bit broader, but just generally on the grammar. The ampersand, that performs a synonym search, but bear in mind the ampersand doesn't work in a regular text search purely because it's used to perform a synonym search. And the synonym search can be used to find words that are either exactly the same or nearly the same as the word that you're searching for. So if you search for the word fast, that would also return results where the word quickly or rapid or quick exists in the metadata or the content. So yeah, and the tildes just allow you to search between a numeric range. So 1 to 10 or whatever. And there's certain wildcards that can't be used on their own. So the question mark, whereby it matches any character. I'll just do a quick demo of the stemming and the synonym. Right, so I'll tick both. So I've probably got a lot of documents in my system with the word test. So if I tick the stemming option and just search for test, hopefully I should see a large number of documents.
Kennigan has left the conference.
Let me just mute someone's audio. Alright, so I've just done a stemming search for the word test, and what I'm trying to do is just find examples of where I've got things like testing, if I can find it. Bear with me. Somebody said they saw one near the top. I've obviously completely missed it. If anybody sees it, just give me a shout. Oh yeah, there we go. Right, so that's one example of the stemming. So it's just found that document there. And the other one was, I think, synonym. Oh no, sorry, the ampersand, yeah. Which is the fuzzy. So again, if I just clear my search. So I've got the option to either do that, which will return everything with Sandeep in it, but it's also got the level 1 fuzzy, so it'll begin with SA, it'll allow for one error, yet still return all the results. And again, you can put the % sign anywhere within the text that you're searching for, or you could just tick the fuzzy option down here. Actually, that's the wrong one. I should have done, yeah, tick the fuzzy option. So that should have been that. Oh no, sorry, I've got confused there. I've done a fuzzy search when I should have done a synonym. So I'm not sure if I've got any examples of the synonym in my system, which is probably a bad thing. So in the options, you've got two here. You've got WordNet synonyms and WordNet related synonyms. By ticking the WordNet related synonyms, it will automatically perform just a, it will automatically include the WordNet synonyms. So I'm just trying to think what I might have in the system. So I've searched for fast, and that's returned something. We can also search for things like testing. That will return results where the words sound the same. Moving on, the OCR. Series 6 will generally OCR, a varying number of varying types of images, image formats even, GIF, JPEG, TIFF, PDF. However, for the best results, we normally recommend TIFF Group 4 and PDF-A, which are image-based PDFs. It provides generally it provides a good result with OCRing, but again, it just comes down to the overall quality of the document itself. There are some limitations with the OCR. We're unable to OCR embedded PDFs in rich PDFs. So if you've got PDFs that have got a text layer, and that they do contain embedded images, unfortunately we can't OCR the image that's embedded within that. Accuracy of the OCR is all dependent on the overall quality, of the document. Purely because we as humans, when we look at a printed sheet or any type of document, we know what the words are by visually looking at them. The OCR engine, because it's computational, it's code, it will look at each pixel on the document, put them together to determine if it matches a character, and if you've got smudges or the quality of the document isn't that great, that can affect the accuracy of the OCR, and the knock-on effect of that, it can affect the accuracy of your search, which is why using some of the additional search options that I've just sort of briefly covered off, the stemming, the fuzzy, things like that, allow you to carry out searches where potentially the document may not have been OCR'd accurately as you may have thought or may have hoped. Also, the speed of the OCR. Certain types of images and content within those images can affect the OCR speed. Again, it comes down to the quality, the size of the document, whether or not there's handwritten text. We don't actually recognize handwritten text, but if there's handwriting that the OCR engine thinks looks like a certain character, it may spend a little bit more time trying to recognize that character or set of characters, before it updates the index. So they're just sort of things to bear in mind, especially if you're relying heavily on content searching. Results differ when you carry out searches. Words may not have been OCR'd. Words may not even exist on the document. Don't rely too heavily on the OCR itself. Use the metadata or the document references within Invu itself to return your searches. So brief do's and don'ts. Oh, just had a question about OCR. OCR is optical character recognition. That is a term sort of just given to the underlying process when a document has gone into Invu. The OCR engine, the optical character recognition engine, looks at the document and tries to recognize the text on the page. So if you're, so in Series 6 actually, I'll just show you in my system. So it's not a very impressive looking document, but those two words there, they're printed on a page and scanned in. What the OCR engine does is it will try and recognize the text on the page, which will enable you to return and search on documents within the system where those words exist. Right. So some do's and don'ts. As I mentioned earlier, don't try and use the asterisk on its own, because it will just try and bring back everything in the system, which will probably be of no use to anybody, because if you've got 50,000 documents in your system, scrolling through 50,000 documents to find the one that you want isn't really the best way to try and find something. Excuse me. Avoid using the asterisk at the start or the beginning of your search, purely because we don't know what's at the start of it. That can sometimes cause large searches to be carried out. It's very non-accurate. It's very broad. It's very non-specific. And again, you'll just get a set of results that you potentially may not even want, or a large set of results that you will just spend ages going through. Avoid any special characters, things like hashes, plus signs, and things like that, purely because they wouldn't work, they're not supported. And the last don't on here is don't perform a full content reindex lightly. You may have spoken to support if you're a customer and you've dealt with your reseller and they've suggested doing a content reindex. If you're not on the latest version, what a content reindex will do is rebuild the index as well as re-OCR any documents that haven't previously been OCR'd. And the issue with that is that you could potentially end up with a large backlog of documents that haven't been OCR'd, which the knock-on effect of which will prevent you from searching or returning results for new documents that have gone in, because it's trying to deal with a backlog. So generally, don't perform a content reindex, just willy-nilly. And that kind of brings us to the end of the presentation. I'll go through some examples. Hopefully, if people have got questions, I've got a few search scenarios that we tend to come across fairly regularly. So I'll go through those. If anybody's got any questions that I may not have picked up, please just send them through on the chat box. Yeah, for anybody who missed the start of the webinar or any portions of the webinar, I am recording this. So what we'll do is just email out a link to anybody who wants to view it again or do a presentation internally, and use the webinar as a basis for any training or any educational purposes within your business. Yep, we've been asked a question about opening context. That was on one of my examples, so I'll come over to that. Right, Charles has asked a question. Performing a combined search where the value you're searching for the doc rep but not content. Payment was content, not metadata. Okay. Okay. Yeah. August and test. Okay. Cheers, Charles. Right. I'll do some examples, but if anybody has any interest or would like any topics covered off in future webinars, because this isn't going to be the only one that we're going to do, we're hoping to do more and more as the as time goes on, I guess. So yeah, so if anybody's interested in submitting topics or things that they'd like to see specific to their business, or just generally that may benefit other businesses, then please email us at info@invu.net and we can try and put something together. We've had a question from Hayden. Is it possible to search for a phone number in a document that is not in metadata? Yeah, you can if you're indexing numbers in the content. On one of my slides, I kind of mentioned that, if I can find it, yeah, there we go, content. We're not indexing numbers by default. So if you speak to your Invu administrator, and in administration, secure storage, and maintain text indexes, if you ask them to check the content index option, if the index numbers isn't ticked, then that would mean that you won't be able to search for phone numbers within the content, purely because the numbers aren't within the index. So I'm guessing at the moment you're searching for phone numbers and not getting any results. That's probably why. If you enable it, you have to do a reindex. If you're on the latest version of Invu, you can enable it, but and leave the attempt to re-OCR unticked. If you leave the attempt to re-OCR unticked, then that will kind of improve things for you, because it won't then go back to documents and try and re-OCR them if they haven't been OCR'd in the past, therefore reducing the risk of having a large backlog. Right, so bear with me. Right, noise words are sort of common words that exist within the English language. Things like and, or, it, that, in, things like that. They're just, they're words that you'll probably see 100 times in a small paragraph. Really, the reason we don't index those is because they just generally increase the size of the index, and therefore the knock-on effect means that the searching can take a little bit longer, especially for content. Metadata, it's not a massive issue because generally the index size is much smaller than the content, so that's why it's not really a massive thing. Yeah, and or are also. Sorry, Charles. When you say search terms, do you mean searchable, or use the syntax within the search to build your search? Yeah, you can use the word and or to build a search. So, for example, I could say, let me just think. I need to find the document that I can use as an example. Yeah, so I could do test and see if that'll bring anything back. Right, so I think it should be or, yeah. So the way it works, you can use them, the and the or operators to build your search. So where I've done a search for Bush and WF update, what I'm saying is that whatever I'm searching for has to contain the word Bush and workflow update. Whereas if I do an or, I'm basically saying that my result set can contain the word Bush or the word WF update. Yeah, I can do some search examples using some sort of real documents rather than test documents. I just need to find one that I can use. That's a single page. Because what I'd like to do is show you the opening context feature as well, where where you are dealing with multi-page documents. Actually, I've got an example in my intro. Right. So if I do a content search on the word prism, prism, it's a multi-page PDF, and when I open it, I can't remember off the top of my head how many pages it's got, but 542 pages. But out of those 542 pages, the word prism is in there somewhere. It's obviously on the front page, but I can right-click, open in context, and what Invu does is it breaks that down, highlights where within the document that word exists, and by going to the context tab on the right-hand side, it tells me it's found over 1,000 matches, which excuse me, which doesn't really help me, because how am I going to go through 1,000 matches? But in this example, it allows me to at least find on which page the word has been found. Yeah, Jamie, the opening context is only available in the rich client. It's not available to the web client. Charles, to answer your question about OCRing Greek, I will need to check. As far as I'm aware, I think we only support the Latin character set. So I'm not 100% sure about Greek, but I can certainly find out and can get back to you on that. I'll just make a note. Right, Charles, I've forgotten about your search, I think. So you wanted me to search for August and test. Yeah, which returns, a smaller subset of results. On a combined search. Elaine, if you're searching for a phrase, you can just type it in straight away, as it is. You don't need to sort of encase it in speech marks or anything like that. You can if you wish. I mean, it's entirely up to you. If you find that you're not quite seeing the results that you would hope to see, then just try the other method, and then that should be it. A couple of things that I need to cover off within search and on the search screen are just some examples. So imagine if in my system, I know that I've got emails that have been stored in there dating back to last year. What I can do is a combined document reference search as well as a content search. So if I do a mail document reference, because it relates to an email, and I can just say that I received it in November, let's pick any day, November 2012, and somewhere in the content of that email, I know that I received an email relating to Email Manager. I mean, the scenario for yourselves might be that you received an email where someone's queried an order or queried an invoice, but you're not sure who sent you the email. You just know that you've received an email, and via Email Manager, which is our automated email filing module, that email exists in Invu, but you're not sure who sent it. You just know when you received it, or when it may have been sent from the third party externally. So what you can do is do a combined document reference and content search. So in this example, I'm going to look for an email that I received on the 12th of November and contains the word Email Manager, or the phrase Email Manager. That's not what I was hoping to see. Just try that again. Ah, there we go. I must have selected the wrong date or something. But yeah, we can see that this one here. If I open it in context, I can see that in my subject it's Email Manager. The words email and manager exist, and also in the body of the email it exists. So therefore I found what I wanted. And you can also, but if you're not sure of the exact date that you may have received, or it's not specific to emails. You can do this with images that have been scanned into the system. You can also apply a filter to each document reference there to say, between. So my receive date could have been anywhere between, let me just so the 1st of November to the 31st of November. Sorry, the 30th. And again, gives me about the same result set. So if I just push it forward, gone too far. Yeah, I still see the same set of results, but yeah, hopefully that allows you to kind of see what I was trying to get at. And like I said, it's not specific to emails. You can use this for common document references within Invu, where the created date in Invu or the modified date of the document, the creator. So if you know who scanned it in, you can just pop in their name, see who scanned in the document, and on which date. If you know the Invu number, you can pop the Invu number in there. If you've got a rough idea of what the file name is, you can do a contains on the file name. So I could say the file name contains test, for example, and then that'll find everything that's got test in it. I could say the file name contains Sandeep, and that just brings my results back. We've had a question regarding some of the options on the primary text search screen. The option for information type is and the date, the since is applied by privilege. You need to have your administrator give you that privilege in Invu. So if I just show you my account. You can see that I've got the search filters here, and show information type filter in the text search, and show document age filter in text search. So if you find that you're doing a search and it's just bringing back hundreds or thousands of documents that you don't really want to be sitting there wading through, you can kind of restrict it down. So if you know that you're dealing with invoices, for example, then you can restrict your search down to that information type, and you can also specify almost a period or a date range for which you want to search within. So if you know that you've had an invoice come in the last month or so from a certain supplier, you can do that. You just select the information type. You just select your information type, define the date from which those documents should have gone into Invu, and just perform a search, and then that will return your results. Yeah, if you wanted to limit a search to a particular, Jamie, is that in the web viewer or in the thick client, in the rich client? Right. That yeah, Jamie, it is possible. It is possible to achieve it in both the rich client and the Invu client. You just need to know the name of the field that you're searching for. So I have an example. Taking a note from Blue Peter. Here's one I prepared earlier. So in Invu, in the rich client, I have a document reference called workflow status, or WS status. So in my document reference search, I can just pull down the all document reference search option, and then from the right, just scroll down to it. I should have picked one that was at the top, really, but there we have it. Right, so WS status. For Jamie, for your example, you would type in sort of between 1990 and I guess 2000, for example. But in mine, I'm going to do a contains. And then if I do a search, that just gives me one email with the title, The Bush. And in the web client, you can do the same. If you know the name of your field, you can just put in the field, followed by 2 colons, which is the syntax for contains, and then the text that you're searching for. So that would return the same result that I've just got in Invu. Jamie, I'll have to check on what the syntax would be for for the search that you're trying to do, where you're doing a wildcard that relates to a date. But again, you have to know the name of the field. If you don't know the name of it, you can almost figure it out. But spaces are treated as underscores, and I think hyphens are also treated as underscores. So you just got to kind of almost figure out how the search mechanism, the search engine will interpret those fields. In terms of you being able to search within those fields. But yeah, I'll see if I can get a list of all the syntax that's exposed that allows you to do sort of a betweens, contains, greater than, equal to, and things like that. So I can email those out to you. The other thing that I just wanted to just cover off were when you carry out a search in Invu, you may or may not be aware that there's actually search filters that allow you to filter out your set of results once they've been returned. Again, this is only possible in the rich client. So once you've got your set of results, excuse me, you've got your set of results in the top right-hand corner of your central search pane. You've got a little blue filter. If you click on that, that just expands a little section that allows you to play with your search results and with a little bit more control. So I've just searched for the word test, and I've got 566 items. I don't really want to be going through all of those. Some of those have no meaning to me. So what I can do is remove some of the sections that I don't need to see. So, for example, invoices, general correspondence, email, things like that, I can get rid of those. Let me just try and find some. Right, so I've hit apply, and that's now dropped it down to 350. So what I'm doing is taking out sections I'm not really interested in. Another option, if I reset that, is to group by creation date. So if you've done a more finite search where you've pinned it down to a specific standard document or an information type, but you just need to know when the documents were created, then you can group by the creation date. So I know that these documents were created last month. Anything beyond that is classed as older. So they're just in their own subsection called older. But it does it down to, the way it breaks it down is down to yesterday, last week, last month, and then older. So a lot of people use it for reporting. I guess it could be used for that, but it's not designed to be used for that. But if just generally you want to know how many documents have been scanned in the last week, then you could do that. You could do it this way. You can also apply no grouping. So you're basically just saying, right, here are all my documents that contain the word test or the word invoice or purchase order or correspondence, but you're not too bothered about where they're filed. You just need to see everything in one list. So imagine if somebody sent you an email. Let's see if I've got one in here. Yeah, so these are all the emails that Matt's sent me while I've been testing some, a few things over the past few months. I've applied no grouping to those. I could group them by creation date. They're all older. I could group by information type, chances are. Yeah. So there's 10 items that are under letters memos, one that's in my email archive, and then 3 that are, 7 that are in my in tray still. So, just by playing around with the filters, applying different settings, you can kind of achieve what you want that allows you to sort of interrogate your results a little bit more easily. Another option is your display grouping. These are all of your document references within the system. This allows you to kind of group based on those doc refs. I'm just trying to find one that I could probably use. Let's go for title, see what happens. I have to add it in, hit apply. So you can see that I've got a title called test, and my standard document is email archive. My title is Chacon and Mary and Carlos again, so it's just broken down into smaller pieces, just more of them. Same set of results, just broken down in a different way, and just presented back to you in a different way, based on whatever filters you've selected. And again, you can mix and match. You can group by more than one document reference, and you can also remove sections from your filter as well. So if I wanted to, I could get rid of all the email attachments and just hit apply, and then that would be it. See if there are any other questions. If anybody's asked a question that I've not picked up on, please do let me know. The version of Series 6 that I'm using is the latest version, 6.7. The build number is 6.7.78. So if there's things that you're seeing in my version that you may not be seeing in yours, it could be because you've not got the feature enabled, or it could be because you're not on the latest version. So yeah, just speak to us or speak to your reseller about getting upgraded and getting on the latest version. Are there any more questions? Thanks, Stuart. Right, I think if there aren't any more questions, we'll call it a day. And if there are any questions, again, just email info@invu.net, and they'll get the queries or questions will just get pushed forward to the right person, and you know, we can just deal with them as and when. If there's anything specific that you wanted to see that I may not have covered, again, just drop us an email, and we can, you know, pick that up, and just deal with that as a separate query, and hopefully sort you out. Okay then, thanks for your time, everybody. Again, if you'd like to see anything else covered in one of the future WebExes, it doesn't have to be searching. It can be about administering the system. If you're the designated Invu administrator, we can cover off the administration, things like email manager, workflow, the Invu web viewer, anything. Just send an email to info@invu.net. But thank you for your time this morning. I hope you've gained something from this, and I'll speak to you soon. Thanks. Bye.
Hazel Meal
has left the conference. Has left the conference.
Sandeep at Invu
has left the conference.
Carrie Pollock
has left the conference. Has left the conference.